like to think of this as COD players versus Harvest Moon players.
Go time! Fucking shut him!
Riley, Jonesy, put your fucking shirts on and get out of here.
This isn't over!
Jenks, you owe me a Coke. I'll never buy you a Coke. It's a hard life picking stones and pulling teats, but sure as God's got sandals, it beats fighting dudes with treasure trails.
If you guys haven't watched Letterkenny, be sure to check that out. Anyway, good evening, folks. Hope you all had a good work week. And so tonight I'm crossing off I guess you could call it a debt to Steffi. If you caught our Super Mario Kart's live stream, I basically smoked her, but I told her that if she could beat me in a round of battle mode, that I would let her pick the game, but I would play it when I got a free day. I got a free day now, so we're gonna play Harvest Moon. This game was released in 1996, I believe, and it was published by Natsume in the United States. Now, Harvest Moon is a series that I've always described as quietly loved, but never that popular. This is a series that has been around forever. Like, after 1996, these games came out at regular intervals. But they never rose to the success of, say, Mario, Call of Duty, or any of those games. But there was always a dedicated fan base of people who would pick up these games and buy them anytime they wanted to when they came out. And the reason for that is simply because, games like this are really relaxing, which is probably going to be funny to a lot of people because the development of the first Harvest Moon was actually a bit more troubled than you would think. For starters, it was just a bizarre concept for the time, though the idea, essentially how the idea came about was the series creator, whose name I'm not going to try to say because I know I'll mispronounce it, wanted to create an RPG that didn't focus on combat. Now, that on its own is a weird idea, but what he landed on to make that concept a reality was a farming simulator of all things. I'm sure when he pitched that to his bosses, they probably just looked at him funny, because it sounds like the worst idea in the world, anyway, doesn't it? Like, who would want to play that? But because of the nature of the game, it would have been a lot easier to make than a standard RPG. There are far less systems in place that you would have to do, so it could be made for cheap, so they decided to give it a shot. Unfortunately, they ran into trouble when the studio they were working at went bankrupt, and when they were bought out by another studio, they not only had their budget decreased even further, they also lost a couple of employees too. So I think there were only 3 people working on this game at the end of it all, and they were crunching hard to get the game out the door because they were very passionate about the game. They really wanted it to come out. They really wanted it to succeed. But there was just so much working against it, and it also didn't help that it was 1996. The Nintendo 64 was out at the time. So this weird farming simulator, no one really had any high hopes for it. And when the game came out, it wasn't a huge hit. However, because it was made for such a minuscule budget, it made a profit regardless. That's kind of the benefit of a smaller budget of a game. You are able to sell significantly less and still break even, which is what Harvest Moon ended up doing. So since then, these games have come out in regular intervals, and now there's 2 series going on because, one company was making the game, and then another was publishing them, but eventually they ended that partnership. So you had one company still making Harvest Moon games, but then you had another making their own farming simulator games, which was technically Harvest Moon, but that's called Story of Seasons. So that sounds really confusing. If you guys want more information on that, I highly recommend checking out Mac McMuscle's What Happened. That is a great video, or even this video I got on the screen right here of Modern Girls, a deep dive into Harvest Moon. Another great video. And though Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons has sort of fallen off the face of the earth, well, not fallen off the face of the earth, the games are still around, but they aren't as popular as they used to, simply because a little indie game came out a couple years back called Stardew Valley, which basically did everything that these games did, but just 100% better, and that's something that even the series creator of Harvest Moon even admits. But because of that, I thought it would be interesting to go back and look at the original Harvest Moon and actually see if there's any value to playing this. Actually, that's not true. I'm really concerned if Harvest Moon is going to make for an interesting live stream or not. I'm really only doing this because Steffi the MLG Panda asked me to. And Steffi, if you're watching this, I hope you enjoy. Hope it's enlightening for you. So let's go ahead and get the game started. So as for how I'm going to play this, thankfully Harvest Moon is available on Nintendo Switch Online. And I actually do own a physical copy of this game too, but it's a reproduction cartridge, so weirdly enough, despite owning the game physically, I think it would be cheating if I played that too, since the copy was technically pirated. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Natsume, decent publisher. They made some great games on SNES. One of my favorites, Wild Guns. I'll have to play that sometime. So the premise of Harvest Moon is very simple. Your grandfather's left you an old dilapidated farm, and you're tasked with basically raising it back to its former glory. It's a very simple story, and that's basically been the plot of every Harvest Moon or Story of Seasons or what have you game. Some decent graphics for the time too. This was a later SNES release, so it stands to reason that the graphics would be really good. They were doing amazing things with the hardware post the release of the N64. And a pretty good title screen. For starters, I love the title Harvest Moon. The Harvest Moon referring to a stage of the moon where it shines so brightly that it casts enough light at night for you to actually continue harvesting well into the night, which in a time before electricity was a big deal to farmers. And it certainly has a nicer ring to it than Harvest Moon, not Harvest Moon, Farmer Story, which I believe is the Japanese name. The graphic design, the logo is great too. Very Old MacDonald had a farm, if that makes sense. Though it is a little rough in regards to how it's rendered. It's not as clean as it could be. But anyway. So start a new game. I've actually been playing this non-stop for the past week. Like, I'm actually kind of upset with Steffi for choosing this game for me to play, because I always spend the week playing the game before I actually play it for the live stream, and I got so friggin' addicted to this game again. Like, it's so easy for games like this to consume your life. So go ahead, start a new game. Yeah, that's me. So, canonically, your character's name is Pete, so I'm just gonna go ahead and name him Pete. I'm praying to Lifeson that I know how to spell it. Is that Pete or Petey? I don't know, I'm sure someone will tell me. Mr. Pete! I don't know why I find that funny. Okay, so the first thing you do is head into town just to meet everybody, which is actually more important than you would think. Though the game is mostly remembered as a farming simulator, there's also a social simulator aspect to it too. There is something to be gained from interacting with all the townsfolk. So the first thing I gotta do is go and talk to everyone. Basically a guy who'll sell anything. The flower shop, this is actually a very important place because this is where you buy the seeds you need to grow all your crops. And right there it's telling you some important gameplay tips. Gives us a watering can. Very useful. Of course, she's got a daughter in here, Nina, I think her name is. So, something interesting about Harvest Moon is that as you're playing the game and you talk to people, there's actually a couple of girls that you can romance. And if you do it enough, you can actually marry whatever girl you choose. And then you can have a kid with them, which is kind of wholesome. I remember when I got that for the first time, it gave me a warm and fuzzy feeling. That's something that these games have always been described as. They call them cozy games. Not really games you play for the typical adrenaline rush you look for, but just something you can relax to. That's probably why these games are so popular with people my age. Like when you're working a 9-to-5 job, or in my case, a 7-to-7 job, it is kind of relaxing to just sit down and play a game like this where all you do is just work the land in this very soothing atmosphere. I remember when I was in college playing Harvest Moon, when I needed to do some long studying where I just need to memorize some repetitive information, I would play Harvest Moon, I would let a day go by, and then I would pause it and go through my material for a little bit. And that served me pretty well. The game was good for that. It was actually this game specifically, and later Harvest Moon 64, which we'll get to eventually. That's another really good one. So here's something I'd like you guys to guess, based on the ladies I've interacted with. See if you can guess which one I typically romance when I play this one. The answer would probably surprise you. That music might not sound too bad, but honestly it starts to wear on you after a while. I remember it coming out of the speakers when I was in college, and honestly, just grating on my ears. And of course, we got the town drunkard. And yes, he is drunk. I know they refer to the stuff you drink in this game as juice, but it was alcohol in the original Japanese version. They were trying to hide it. It's also kind of interesting that there's a church in this game too. Nintendo had a hang-up about religious imagery in their games back in the day. It's also even stranger in how they talk about the religion in this game. They refer to it as in the Shoto form of religion. It's not Christianity or anything. They did try to remove a lot of the Japanese imagery here, much like they did with Pokemon back in the day, but they couldn't remove everything. Not that that's a problem today, because, you know, we really don't mind that stuff anymore, and I don't know why people thought we would mind it. This place right here, this is where you buy animals, so I usually don't do that until later. Okay, give us some grass for free, that's appreciated. Okay, I think that's everyone. There might be someone in this cabin here, so let's go see if there is. Oh yeah, the fortune teller. Oh man, I hate fortune tellers. I've only had my fortune told a few times, but every time it did, they were correct, but it was the exact opposite of what they said it would happen. Alright, guy, I think that's everything. It's time to get to work. Pitter patter, let's get at her. And yes, that is a Letterkenny reference. I guess we can look at this video as sort of getting started for Harvest Moon, because this isn't a game that really holds your hand at all. You kind of have to figure things out as you go along. Or look it up on Wikipedia, whatever you want to do. Aw, it's a cute little doggy. I know exactly what to name this guy. We're gonna name him Hank. He's gonna be my cow dog. And if you get that reference, you had good taste in children's books. Nice to meet you, Ellen. Alright, well, let's get inside. Now you stay here, I got work to do. So first thing you want to do is clear the land, though beforehand you should probably get some tools for that purpose. I think I've already got, I don't have the seeds. Actually, before you start, you need to go get some seeds. So we're gonna head back into town. We're gonna visit the flower shop. So I usually talk about the controls when I play games like this. And to be honest, there's really no point to talking about it because this is what the controls really amount to. It's just walking on a grid pattern, using items. For what it's trying to do, it's fine. There's not a lot to say in this regard. Alright, so it's fall, so I usually like to do the potatoes. They take longer to raise, but they give you bigger payouts, and considering you only can really do a few harvests, I feel that's the best course of action. So I've only got 300 right now, so I can only buy one. Do only have, yeah. So now head back to the ranch, plant some potatoes. Ha, that's adorable. I am giving you guys a hint there for the record. So if you go up this path right here, that takes you to the forest where you can do activities like fish, harvest lumber, to upgrade your house, stuff like that. A good place to go if you got some time to kill. And you are on the clock with Harvest Moon. There's only so many hours in the day that you're able to work. So clear some space. I want to plant some grass first. That's something you really want to do consistently. It doesn't give you any money, but if you want to get some livestock for winter, you need to have a certain amount of grass planted, otherwise the guy isn't going to sell you it. You also want to plant as much as you can so that you have a good deal of compost to get you through the winter to maximize your profits. Okay, so now we're going to break some land. Need to clear some of these rocks out of the way though, so I'm going to get the hammer. You can also pick up the rocks and toss them in water, which is ideal if you're trying to save stamina. You can only do so much work before your character runs out of steam, and when that happens, all you can do is just really go to bed, so that's something else to keep in mind. You can see the sun going down already, so already eaten through a good chunk of my time. Get the potato. Okay, so how I typically like to... You gotta think about how you set up your... Ah, no! Hold on a sec, guys. I may have to reset the game. I can't believe that happened. Nah, I didn't mean to do that either. So essentially what I did was I used my seeds without breaking the land, so I just wasted it. And I kind of soft-locked the game doing that because now I don't have any money to buy any more seeds, so I was in essence screwed. So that was a little embarrassing. Hopefully it saved my place. It should have. No! You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna play on my regular file for you guys. So, with the file I've been playing, where I've ended up so far, I'm in my second year now, so this is my second summer right now. So, you saw how the farm looked when I started, and I've done a little bit of work here. My house is bigger. I've already expanded it once. As you can see, I've planted a good deal of grass. I'm in the process of harvesting some tomatoes out there. So first thing I usually do is I attend to the cows. So I've got my milker with me. So let's go say hi to Otis. This is Otis right here. Yeah, I only have one cow at the moment. It does take a while to raise them, and I only had so much compost, so I decided to only go with one right now. So you need to feed them every day or else they get sick, at which point you need to get them some medicine. And if you choose not to get them medicine, they'll eventually die, which, you know, is really sad when it happens. So, got some milk off of him. The cows can be really stressful to manage because, you know, it's a living creature that you're having to care for instead of, you know, crops. So you feel worse if something bad happens to them. I also have a dozen chickens. If you feed them, they'll give you eggs. So I can make 12 eggs off these guys. But they don't die if you don't feed them. So during the summer season, I tend to just let them be so I can focus on my crops, which I need to get to right now. As you can see, I got some grass there that I need to tend to. So I was playing this earlier. I was trying to carefully water my plants to make sure they were all getting the same amount so I can harvest them all in one go. So these guys still need watered. So I actually got the upgrade sprinkler there, which waters the plants in a 9 square foot area, which is really helpful. When you start the game, you only have the one watering can and you have to water the plants one at a time, which is frustrating. Limits the amount of work you can do. But even right now, I can only tend to so many of my plants because even just watering the plants like this uses stamina. And because of that, some plants aren't going to get watered. Thankfully, the plants don't die if you don't water them, they just don't grow. So if you can't get to all your plants in one day, that's fine. I'm glad they didn't do that, otherwise it would be very difficult to, you know, maintain a big field like this. Now, looking at this, you might get the sense that this game can be really tedious, and honestly, it can. But at the same time, it is a very rewarding experience. It's fun to put the work into the land, water the crops, and then harvest them when they're ready. And in addition to that, the game actually does get the gears in your head turning a lot more than you would think. See, I'm running out of stamina right there. I'm hoping my character will eat something so I can do a little more work. So like, I remember when I planted these tomato plants, I actually counted how many spaces I had set aside so that I could maximize my profits for the summer. In the summer, you can plant plants that, you know, regrow afterwards without having to buy more. So that's a good time to maximize your profits. As you can see, there's one spot right here where I completely forgot to get seeds for. And that guy right there is coming to collect today's produce. So you saw me put the milk in that red bin earlier. There's a bin that you put your crops in, and at that point in the day you get money for that, which you can then spend on more stuff. So a big part of the game is time management, as well as thinking about, you know, when you'll make money, or as it were in the winter seasons when you can't grow crops and have to rely on your animals, how you make money. So the day's basically over, my character's worn out, so it's time to call it a day. So it's always good to go watch the TV. Gives you an indication of what kind of weather is coming. So that's going to be a nice day for me. Sometimes it'll rain, and that's actually a godsend in a game like this because the rain naturally waters the plants, and that frees you up to work on some other projects. I usually use a rainy day to go into the woods and cut some lumber so that hopefully when winter comes I have more free time and more money, I can upgrade the house. Alright, let's get back to it. I like how there's clouds overhead too, that's a nice touch. The graphics in this game aren't anything impressive by the standard of the Super Nintendo, but they do get the job done, and there's a certain charm to how everything is designed. Harvest Moon has always had a very distinct art design. And looking at the color palette and everything, I'm sure a lot of you guys are making the connection to Stardew Valley. Which, by the way, I've had a few people request that I look at that game, and I wouldn't mind doing that, but unfortunately that game stirs up some unpleasant memories for me of a specific person, and because of that, I'd rather not play it. It's not that I'm saying it's bad. Stardew Valley is amazing. It's just, it hurts to play it. For me personally, I'm not trying to say it's bad or anything, or that there's something in it that hurts me. It's through issues outside of its control. But enough about that. No one cares about my personal feelings. They just want to hear me talk about games, the few people who actually do watch my videos. I do appreciate it if you're watching, by the way. Thanks for joining me tonight. Okay, so with my plants like this, I think I've got them all started. These guys are starting to come in nice. So, yeah, let's get to water and I'll start over here. You can sprint, but that eats up your stamina, so you want to try to keep that to a minimum. Hopefully I get some crops to harvest so you guys can see what that looks like. You guys might be wondering why I chose to do this sort of horseshoe pattern for my crops. And that's one of the annoying things with the first Harvest Moon. Like, you see, I can't walk through my crops in this game. And that's really frustrating because if you're to play this for the first time, you might do the full 9 square foot area that you can plant your seeds in. And if you do that, you'll be unable to water whatever is in the middle or even harvest it without destroying your pre-existing crops, which is really annoying. And that's something that's stuck in Harvest Moon for the longest time. I remember playing Stardew Valley for the first time and being able to walk over my crops. I was like, holy crap, dude, you can do that? Fantastic. Something else that's a little clunky is having to go to the shed in order to get the tools you need for the day. That's something that they would also address in later games. In Harvest Moon 64, you just had a menu screen that you selected, which again was a godsend, especially in that game where you had even less time to get your daily chores done. Yeah, my guy's getting tired again. Here's hoping that he eats something. I don't think he will, though. Doesn't look like that's gonna happen, so I guess I should head to bed. There's literally nothing else you can do right now aside from maybe go to the townsfolk. Go talk to the townsfolk at the bar. But for the people I want to interact with here, I don't really see a point to doing that. If you guys haven't guessed by now, I'm not what you would call a social individual. So, like, if I had a farm like this, I'd probably just stick to myself for the most part. Anyway, let's see what the weather's going to look like tomorrow. So it's going to rain, so that'll be nice. Means I don't have to worry about my crops tomorrow. Just gotta make sure Otis gets fed, and then the day is mine. See, I don't really like the music in Harvest Moon, but I do like moments like this where all you get is the ambience, because all you can hear is the rain. That's just really peaceful. I kind of wish the whole game was like that. I think Stardew Valley is like that too. It's certainly better than the music that plays, which can be more grating than anything. Hey, Otis, you doing alright? I just realized it's a girl cow and I named it Otis. I got that from Barnyard, actually, and despite being a male cow, Otis had an udder, so I guess that is fitting. I swear, when I saw that movie for the first time, I didn't realize that only girl cows had the udders. Man, I was a dumb kid. Alright, so since it's raining, I'm going to take the time to cut my grass so I can get some more compost going. I want to get another cow when winter comes, so I want to have as much compost as I can, and also so I can feed all 12 of my chickens. Get some consistent eggs going. And like I said, Harvest Moon does get the gears turning in your head, because as you're going about everything, knowing that you don't have time to do everything that you want to in one day, you do start to do a little bit of pre-planning. Like, I already have an idea of what I want to do moving forward with the farm and everything. Like, after this season, I want to expand the house. I want to expand my fields. Get some more animals. Who knows, I might be able to be at the point where I can marry whatever girl I'm romancing here. That's just kind of the appeal of Harvest Moon. Yes, what you're doing might seem very mundane, but it is rewarding, which is probably the most important aspect of a video game. Like, I'd rather... Like, I can't tell you how many times I played a action game with super unsatisfying combat. Like, it's just not fun to shoot anything. And even though, like, you're in a life and death situation, it's not any fun. But Harvest Moon, you're not fighting anyone. There's no enemies to deal with. Like, in later games, you would be resisting a corporation trying to take the land to turn it into an amusement park. But here, there's nothing of the sort. Though there are some mistakes that a first-time player can make. I was talking about the grass and how it's important to make sure you have lots of it so you can get animals. But if you don't have the grass and winter and fall comes, then that means for that stretch of time, there is nothing you can do. So you basically just have to grind until it's time for spring to come and you can start making money again. So be sure you take the time to plant the grass and be sure you get some animals before winter hits, because there's nothing you can do otherwise, and that can make the game really boring. So what I'm doing here is just harvesting some logs. Like, all it really boils down to is just pushing the button, which again can be tedious, but this is something you want to do, because not only is it important for expanding your house, which is something you need to do a few times if you want to marry someone, but it's also required if you want to expand your farm. Like, you gotta build fences, otherwise stuff is going to get at your crops and destroy it, which is really frustrating. Like, you saw all those crops there. There's certain natural disasters that can occur, like earthquakes and hurricanes and stuff like that. And when that happens, you can lose crops, and if that happens, that's money wasted. And thankfully, there's no detrimental effects to walking around in the rain. Your character doesn't get sick as far as I know. I'm sure there are some Harvest Moon games where that happens. Now my character's out of gas, so it's time to go home and go to bed. You know it's time to go back to the house and sleep when all you get is silence. I guess the rain muted itself. I'm not sure what the deal with that is. Might have some crops growing tomorrow. Who knows? Let's have a look. Gonna be nice weather tomorrow. Here's hoping there's a harvest. I can't remember. Did I feed Otis? Yeah, I fed Otis. All my crops are coming along nicely, which is good. Get the milker. Got that thing for watering the crops. Get going. Just realized I haven't done a sound check. Let's make sure it's coming in nice. Get the milker. Yep, coming in real nice. I think I'm starting to get the sound down here. The sound was also really good for Sonic Shuffle last week too. Alright, Otis, let's get you some food. There's a way you can feed your cows without the compost, but you gotta pay an arm and a leg for cow feed. So it's best to have the compost in the bin so you could maximize your profits. Alright, let's take a look at the plant, see what needs water. Looks like the rain sure did my crops some good. Everything's looking good. This area could use some work though. Alright, we'll start down here. When you come to harvest the plant, so as you said earlier, there's a box you gotta put your stuff in. And when you start the game, you have to walk the produce all the way to the bin at the entrance of the ranch. And that can be really tedious and time consuming. Thankfully, early on in the game, you get a horse that you can keep on the farm who doesn't require any real care. And if you take him out into the field with you, you can just put the crops in his saddlebag, and that will have the same effect as putting them in the box, which really is a time saver. So the RPG element is strong with this one because as you work your farm, you get new tools, you get smarter about how to raise and run everything. So it's not just a number going up, like you're actually figuring out how to play the game and how to do it better. So that feeling of always getting stronger is in effect there, but in a different manner. So all out of gas, so it's time to call it a day. What's up for tomorrow? Looks like it's gonna be a nice day. I'm sure this game is not looking like a whole lot of fun, and I'm doing my best to speak as much as I can. But I promise this game is a lot more fun to play than it is actually to watch, which again is the purpose of this live stream. There's a reason I don't play games start to finish, because I feel like you lose something if you don't take the time to actually play the game yourself. So see, I got some produce here, that I can harvest, so I'm gonna get my horse. I'm gonna park him right here, hold him in place because he does have a tendency to wander around. And nothing's more aggravating than him moving just as you're about to harvest the fruit. Now you see, I can't get to those two here, so I gotta walk the horse around this way. Ha. Made a little bit of profit there. And I can water those plants again and get more off of them. Summer is the best time to make money in this game, so take advantage of that. I tried to get as many crops as I could handle this time. So let's go in and check in with Otis. I didn't do that. Well, first things first, feed him before I ask for milk. Ah! If you're just a pixel off, you waste compost, which is really annoying. Really wish stuff like that couldn't happen, but what can you do? This was really the first game of its kind when you really think about it. Okay, so I think all the crops are pretty evenly watered right now. So I think it was this batch right here that produced plants, so water these guys. And tomorrow I'll do it from the other end. Work my way in. This isn't how I thought this stream would go, but I think it's going well so far. I think you guys are getting a good gist of how things are supposed to play out in this game. Probably would have been really boring to just see me work my way through fall. Then again, it might be really boring watching me play this game, I don't know. Am I entertaining enough? That's something I'm always concerned about when I'm doing these videos. Like, is that the reason my subscriber count isn't going up very much, or is it because, you know, I just haven't been doing this long enough? Get your butt back up. We still got work to do, kid. And I guess he's out of gas for the day, so it's time to call it. You need to get back in the stable, dude. Or at least I try to put you in the stable. He'll just wander around, so... Alright. Gonna be another decent day. Day of the month, are we? Only 11th. I'm right on track. Like, despite how slow paced this is, we've only got 15 minutes left on the stream, so... Yeah, make of that what you will. Time is really flying for me. I don't know about you guys. Alright. Let's deal with Otis. Yeah, he always runs into that corner for some reason. I don't know why. Makes it easier for me to get milk from him, though. You ever watch that show Milo's Murphy's Law? There's a funny bit where one of Milo's friends tries to milk a cow and all kinds of crazy stuff goes wrong. I actually tried milking a cow once. It was very bizarre. Alright, so I got some crops I need to harvest. Bitter batter, let's get at her. Look more like apples than they do tomatoes, don't they? But don't they just look delicious? That's coming from a guy who doesn't really like tomatoes either. I always feel bad when I eat a tomato because I feel like I'm eating Bob the Tomato from VeggieTales. Yeah, I'm a weird guy, I know. I've got all kinds of weird things when it comes to food. Like, I can't watch any cartoon that stars some kind of pig character, because when I see a pig, I just naturally get hungry for bacon. So, I watch a Porky Pig cartoon, and I get hungry for bacon. It's really disturbing. I remember in college, I found the old Charlotte's Web movie, the old animated one by Hanna-Barbera, and I was really upset with myself. I wanted to eat Wilbur. I felt so bad. Yeah, so you see those two tomatoes that are situated between the plants there? So despite my best efforts to make sure I can get to all my crops, I can't harvest those ones because they are out of reach, and that is really frustrating. You really gotta think about how you lay out your plants, otherwise you're gonna get screwed like that. It is really helpful that I can just put them in the saddlebags, so I cannot tell you how useful that is. It's gonna be a nice harvest when that guy gets here. Yep, almost 4 grand there, isn't that nice? Alright, so I'll put the horse up, I'll water some of the other plants, and I'll get back to it tomorrow. I'm not sure if what you put in the box carries over to the next day, and because of that, I tend not to do that for fear that I'm going to lose some of the crops I harvest. I know I could just look that up on Wikipedia, but I'm not going to do that midstream right now, so if you want to make fun of me for that in the comments, be my guest. I'm still at the early stages in my channel's history where I think I can safely read the comments without getting harassed, which is nice. That's why I always heard was one of the first rules of running a YouTube channel is you never read the comments. They even said that in the Wreck-It Ralph movie, Ralph Breaks the Internet. You guys remember that one? Yeah, it can work pretty far into the night too. I think at some point your character will just naturally decide to go to bed. And I think if that happens, he'll wake up later in the day, which can eat into your time, which is never a good thing. I'm unsure of that, though. And now it's time for him to go to sleep. Not much more he can do today. Definitely made a nice profit today, though, which is nice. 10 more minutes left on the stream. Man, I am surprised at how time flew by with this stream. Like, you always hear people say with Harvest Moon, like, how addicting it is. So, you start the game, and you plan on only playing for, like, maybe 30 minutes or 20. But then you look at the clock, and you've wasted 2 hours on it, which has basically been my story for the past week. I get home from work, oh, I'll just play a little bit. Next thing I know, it's time to go to bed. On one occasion, it was past my bedtime, which was really stressful the following day. Alright, how about some milk? I wish I had some cookies. I like how the cow smiles after you get some milk out of him. It's nice to see that he's happy. Alright, let's get to work. I get up 7 to 8 and I go to work at 9. Got no time for living, yes, I'm working all the time. Seems to me I could live my life a lot better than I think I am. Guess that's why they call me the working man. They call me the working man, 'cause that's what I am. I hope I don't get demonetized. Not demonetized. I'll make money off these videos. I hope my video doesn't get copyrighted for me singing that, though. I hope I don't get copyrighted for the song I talked over in the intro, too. That was an acoustic cover of Leonard Skinner's Simple Man, which I thought would be a good fit for the subject matter here. I really hope I don't get a message from YouTube later tonight saying that the video is being taken down just because I played that. Like, I get if someone is trying to monetize a YouTube channel and you do that, but this is just something I do for fun, and really me trying to build a footprint on YouTube is just more something I'm doing to, you know, build the marketing experience. With how big YouTube is these days, actually being able to run a successful platform like that, that'd be very beneficial to consumers these days, or employers, I mean. Fortunately, I haven't managed to crack 20 subscribers yet, though some of my videos have actually done pretty well, all things considered. The infamous video, weirdly enough, is my most popular video. That one almost has 50 views to it, which is surprising. I figured my most popular videos would be the Sonic ones, and the second most popular one is Sonic Adventure so far. So I'm curious what kind of response I'm going to get when me and the MLG Panda cover Sonic Adventure 2 later this month. The work just never stops. All the animations on your character are really cute too. Just a great art style here. I haven't gotten into any of the later Harvest Moon games. Like, I think the last one that I played was Harvest Moon 64, and that was a good while ago. So I'm definitely due to get into the next game in the series. And then I dated a girl who had me get into Stardew Valley. But you can probably guess now why I don't like to play that game. It's funny though, because how I got into Harvest Moon is, again, because of a girl I was dating at the time. Yeah, she's actually been on the stream a couple of times, you know, Autumn. I actually dated her in college, and it was because of her that I decided to give these games a try. And I'm really glad that she convinced me to do that, because, like I said, these games are really relaxing, especially if you are working long hours at your job. So yeah, thanks a lot for that, Autumn. And also, you know, thanks for doing the breakup thing right. I'm glad we were able to remain friends. Aw, look at the little birdies! Get off my land! Stupid birds. Alright, you guys know the drill at this point. First we check on Otis, get some milk, and then we hit the fields. See, this is exactly what you want to happen during the summer, just making money every day. You know, if you're doing that, you're playing the game right. But I've seen people do some incredible things with their farms in this game. Same with Stardew Valley, too. Remember playing that and then seeing what everyone else was doing with their farms. It was damn impressive. One tomato, two tomato. You say tomato, I say tomato. You say potato, I say potato. Now I got the Christopher Walken bit on my mind from Saturday Night Live where he sings that song. Jimmy Fallon comes out, calls him out for saying, you say potato, I say potato. Says he needs to alternate between potato and potato. And then he points out the fact that all the words are spelt the same on the card, which is hilarious because on Saturday Night Live you can kind of tell that Christopher Walken is always reading off a cue card. And it is really annoying when a little weed is in the way. You'd think you would just be able to step over that. Nothing efficient about what just happened there. In you go. Really wish the horse would just stay in one spot. So it made things a lot easier. How you let me off where I want you to. Not as much money as yesterday, but what can you do? Things are still going pretty well here. Coming up on the end of the stream, so I think I'm going to go ahead and call it here, so we don't go over time. Gonna be a nice day tomorrow, though. I'm probably gonna keep playing this after the stream ends, so... Alright, so... Harvest Moon, is it still good? And I would say yes, the game is still as addicting as it always has been. Would this be the first game for, you know, the sort of cozy farm simulator that I would recommend to someone who's trying to get into the genre? I would say no. If you want to play that game, obviously you play Stardew Valley, but I still appreciate what Harvest Moon set out to do. I mean, after all, we wouldn't have Stardew Valley if it wasn't for Harvest Moon. The game has a nice style to it. The gameplay is addicting. It's rewarding. It can be a little tedious at times, especially if you fall into some of the beginner's traps. But for the most part, I just have a good time playing it. Like I said, I put several hours into it just this week. And I only have 3 hours to kill at the end of each day. And a couple of those is spent on, food and grooming. So the fact that I was willing to dedicate so much time to it is really a testament to how enjoyable the game is. Later games are better. I would definitely recommend Harvest Moon 64 over this just because of some tremendous quality of life improvements. But I would say it's still good. I would say it's good, but it has definitely aged. Play Stardew Valley and then go back to this game and you'll get a good idea of what I'm talking about. But anyway, that's going to do it for tonight. Steffi, if you're watching, I hope you enjoyed tonight's video. And I hope any new videos tonight enjoy it as well. If you enjoyed tonight's content, please be sure to like and subscribe. I do these videos every week at 8 o'clock. And what I do is just pick a game and talk about the design and history of the game for an hour or so. I do not play games from start to finish because I feel like you're missing something if you don't play the game for yourself. Which, again, Harvest Moon is one of those games that really does prove my point on that front. Watching tonight, it probably didn't look like it'd be that much fun a game, but I have to tell you, playing it yourself, it is rewarding. So, yeah, hope like and subscribe if you want to see more. And I actually won't see you guys next week. I am going to post a video for you guys, but I got tickets to Brick Floyd next week, so I'm not going to be able to do the stream at the usual hour. I will have a video for you guys ready to go, so please be sure to check that out. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good night and enjoy your work week.